Hello, happy Tuesday morning. It is even in San Diego, even though the sun isn't shining, and it's very strange and it's been raining recently. Everything's subdued and brown, even though it's been raining. But anyway, happy Tuesday. Happy being the operative word. This is probably the shortest title I've ever had for any of my live streams, How to Be Happy. And yet it's the biggest subject. It's an enormous subject, but it's something that has been on my mind, particularly recently, because I've been doing a lot of reading, as you may know. And also, it seems to be a really, really fundamental thing. There seems to be less of it around now than there used to be. And people seem to be searching for it more than they usually do. So without further ado, let's talk about it. How to be happy, because happiness is something we want to be. We talk about having it, but we don't really want to have it. We want to actually be it. So what is it? Very good question, because it is not the feeling you get when you buy the perfume on the TV ad you just saw, or the flashy car, or even the gorgeous house, or even find the partner of your dreams. That isn't it. That isn't it. There's an old story, you've probably heard it, and I can't remember half of it because it's quite long, and I don't remember whether it happens in China or whether it happens in India, but it's about a family or the head of a family, and he has at least one son, and his son climbs a tree and falls and breaks his leg, and the village says, "Oh, such a disaster, your son has broken his leg." And he says, And then at some point, I think the local the generals are sent to his village to collect boys of fighting age to join the army because there's a war. And the villagers are, "Oh my God, there's a terrible war. It's a disaster." And the man's like, "Hmm." And then they come to the village and round up all the boys, and everyone's, "Oh, it's such a disaster. The boys are going away." And the man is, "Hmm." And of course, lo and behold, because his son has a broken leg, his son can't go to war. And everyone's, "Oh, you're so lucky because your kid didn't have to go to war." And the man is, "Hmm." Now, the story is much longer than that. It goes up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down a lot more. But the point of the story is, and the point of my telling part of it badly, is that happiness is perceived to be a state that you can be in where things that are happening to you in your life don't affect you. And that, to me, is nirvana. That would be perfection. But things do affect us. We do become affected by things that hurt us and squash us and suppress us. And it's very difficult to just be calm and even about it and happy, not in experiencing joy, but experiencing contentment for sure. And I think you actually have to be a monk or something like that, or have some kind of monk's training in order for the ravages that we're going through at the moment, in particular, to not affect you at all. So how can you make yourself less susceptible to influences from outside, right? Because we're being told what we can do and what we can't do and where we can go and who we can talk to, and to an extreme degree right now, and that is bound to have some kind of an effect somewhere. So what do you think it is that happens in your life that makes you feel happier or more content? Feel free to put something in the chat box, or in the, put something in Facebook if you're watching live, if you've got any ideas to what it is, because I have a theory. And you know me, I'm a very practical person. I like to have things to do. I like to Yeah, I'm active. I like to be practical. I'm a very practical person. I'm not a very esoteric kind of a person, unfortunately. I think life would probably be much easier for me if I were, but I like to do things to get a result. I like to do stuff to get an effect. And that actually, for me, is the crux of the whole thing. Because I think that happiness is about what you do rather than what you have. Okay, I'm going to say that again. I think happiness or being happy is more about what you do, and it isn't at all about what you have. Right? So going back to the adverts, particularly at Christmas, where it's all about perfume or it's all about a car, if you watch the lifestyle that they represent, it's like, okay, now you've got this perfume, everything's perfect. Now you're driving this car, your life is perfect. But it isn't about what you have. It isn't even about having the perfect partner or the perfect children or the perfect home, because it doesn't matter. Life will never be perfect. In my view, it's about what you do, right? Now, I don't know where this comes from at all. If you find it and figure it out, let me know. But one hears the scientific fact, and it's not just relating to humans, it's relating to everything, that a body that is in motion continues to be in motion, right? So once something is in motion, it'll continue to be in motion. And of course, the opposite is true. Once it's stopped, it's much more difficult to get going again. You can, but it takes much more effort to get going. Now, if you relate that to the human body, and you think about how difficult it is sometimes to get up and go for a walk or go for a run or go to the gym or even move, especially in San Diego when the weather is dull. It tends to sort of slow people down. Or maybe some people are affected by the heat and they slow down when it gets too hot. Some people are depressed by the rain or depressed by the snow. The weather affects them and they find it difficult to move their body. They literally want to stay in bed and pull the blanket over their heads. And then what happens? Do they feel happy? No. So here's an experiment. The next time you feel like staying in bed and pulling the blanket over your heads, get up and move. Get up and do something. If you absolutely cannot think of something to do, just turn the radio on and dance to some music. Okay, this is why I love going live. I now have a message telling me that that's Newton's first law of motion. A body at rest will remain at rest, and a body in motion at a constant velocity will remain in motion. Right? So once you start something going, it'll continue to go. So if the only thing you can think of to do is to get up and put some music on and dance, do that, right? Then make your bed, then go downstairs and make a cup of coffee, then clean the kitchen worktops, then sit at your desk and look at what it is that you can do. Because it doesn't always have to be physical stuff that makes you happy. It can be mental stuff as well. And in fact, that's the really important thing. In my view, and this is all my view, and you either stick with me because you like what I say, or you think I'm nuts and you switch me off and you unsubscribe from my email list. But this is it. This is the point. I'm trying to help you maybe look at things in a slightly different way by showing you how I think about them. So I know absolutely guaranteed 190 million% that if I have a certain number of things to do that day and I don't do any of them, I feel like crap at the end of the day. Oops, not supposed to swear on the screen. So if I have 10 things that need to be done and I do 5, I feel all right. If I do 8, I feel better. If I do 3, I don't feel so good. So what does that show me? That shows me that doing stuff actually makes me feel good. And I specifically like to use pen and paper so that I get the joy of crossing something off my list or checking something off my list, because that also sends me a message, or sends my brain a message that gives me a little bit of a dopamine shot, which is a feel-good hormone, that says, yeah, you achieved something today, right? So on a very, very basic level, getting stuff done makes me feel good. And I'm sure you're the same. So test it, try it out. Actually start writing a to-do list, even if you've only got 3 things on it, and get the stuff on that list done as quickly as you can, and you will feel better. And you know what? You'll have a little bit of energy. You'll have a hell of a lot more energy than you did at the beginning of the day. You haven't eaten. You haven't had a power shake or a bulletproof coffee necessarily, or anything like that. It is all in your head. You have created a feeling better about life than you did a couple of hours ago because you've achieved something. You've actually done something. Now that could be sweep the patio, empty the bin, and make the bed. That's fine. But it could also be phone that client, write that email, send that thing out to whatever it is, write a blog post. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it works for you. Now, if writing a blog post, sending out an email, and calling a client are too steep a gradient, it's like, oh, I can't handle that, then do the bin and the patio. And then maybe afterwards you'll feel more inclined to take on a bigger challenge. Build up the challenges of the day until you get to the point where writing a to-do list that says, make 6 prospecting phone calls and write a blog post is not challenging to you. Not to the degree that you think, well, I've got no energy, I can't handle it, I'm going to go back to bed. Because that is not going to make you happy. Absolutely guaranteed, for sure, 100%, it's not. So I've got a message now here that says, when I'm in motion, if and when a crisis does come about it, I'll approach it differently because I'm not in a down mindset. Exactly, right? It builds you up. It makes you stronger. Now, from my point of view, it puts me in control. And I like very much to be in control of what's going on around me. So if my house is a mess, I don't live on my own. When I lived on my own, things were different. There was always a place for everything. But in an environment where I'm living with other people and a puppy with way too many toys, things end up in places they're not supposed to be. And that actually makes me feel unhappy. So I feel a lot happier if I tidy things away. Now, why would I be feeling happier if I tidy things away? Well, I think there are 3 reasons for that. I think the first is I was actually physically moving and I was putting something away. So there's that physically moving, making me feel more energized, happier. Okay. The second thing is I'm now looking at an environment that is pleasing to me because there aren't things in the wrong place. That's the second thing. Things not being in the wrong place is the second thing. And the third thing, and this could be a bit of a jump. The third thing is I have in some way made a contribution to somebody else, namely the 2 people I'm living with and the puppy. Because for the puppy, it is a game to take things out of a basket. So when everything's been put back in the basket, the game can start again, taking everything out of the basket, right? So I have made the environment nicer and more aesthetically pleasing for the people I live with as well as myself. I've contributed to them in some way. Also, on a slightly woo-woo level, and I do get woo-woo from time to time, so you're going to have to bear with me on this one. The energetic flow around a room is enhanced if the pathways for energy to move are kept clear. In other words, if your surroundings are cluttered up, energy is blocked and it can't flow as well. So you invariably, whoever you are, feel a little bit more uncomfortable in that kind of a space than in a nice clear space. Now, I also feel uncomfortable in a space that looks like a hotel room. I don't like to walk into somebody's house and feel that I've just walked into a hotel or into a magazine, because to me that feels unlived in, right? So for me, there isn't a problem to have a pile of magazines or books on a coffee table or something like that. That isn't an issue for me. I don't want it to be so perfect it looks like real people don't live there, or they have a maid who's running around behind them clearing everything up. But I do need to have less clutter so that my spirit actually feels uplifted, right? And I've got a message about that. I've heard it before. If your surroundings are cluttered, your mind is cluttered as well. Right. So if you have to clear away a space on your desk in order to get a notepad out and write your to-do list, everything is cluttered. That's not a good space to be in. So if you work from home, even if you don't work from home, if you have a desk that you work from, clear that up as much as possible, right? And if your teenagers are homeschooling at the moment because they can't go to school, try and get them to sit at a clean desk or a clear desk in order to get their work done. I know the temptation is to lie in bed, but that's the wrong energy as well. A bed has a sleeping, restful energy about it. That's what it's designed for. And a desk should have a sort of creative doingness space around it. So that's the place that you should be sitting in to make you feel happier. That's the only word I can think of. Contentment is a good word as well. Right. So what have we learned out of me jabbering on like this for a while? We have learned that when you are moving your body, you are likely to feel better. And there's scientific reasons for that too. The movement of a body creates endorphins or something that actually go to the brain that make you feel better. That's one thing. You could also argue that it's because you're now focused on sweeping the patio. You're not worried about your problems. You get a bit of a rest from your problems. And then you might find that that moment of inspiration is like, I should do such and such. That'll solve that problem. Rather than sitting there constantly trying to think about how to resolve the problem, or staying in bed with a blanket over your head thinking about the problem, because the chances are that's not the place to create it. Because arguably at that point you're in the mindset of what created the problem, because you're going over and over and over and over the problem. If you get out and sweep the patio, or take the dog for a walk, or go for a run or a bike ride, or do something that moves your body and takes your mind away from the problem, you might actually find that the solution will come to you there. So you're moving your body, you're creating a sort of natural chemical inside your body that makes you feel good, but you're also taking yourself away from where the problems are and where the clutter is, and you're decluttering, which clears space. It clears spiritual negative energy away when you declutter, right? So declutter your desk first. Then at least you have a workspace that is relatively clear. And that will make you feel better. And then you'll be able to get more stuff done, which will make you feel even better. So then we go on to the to-do list and the things that need to be done, feeling better about doing things. But there's another aspect to that as well, which is if you've made an agreement about something, you will feel better when you stick to that agreement than when you don't. And I know that's a tough one. And again, it sort of goes to all sort of, becomes a bit religious and a bit woo-woo again, but you try it out. And I'm a very, very honest and conscientious person. And I have always focused or put my attention on making sure that I do what I say I'm going to do. I turn it around the other way. I actually never say that I will do something if I think there's a chance, if I think there's a chance I might not do it. In other words, I will not overcommit. But that's about other people. What about the commitments I make to myself? Don't even want to talk about those, because I didn't realize for a very long time that when I make a commitment to myself, I've got to do that one as well. So if I were to say something like, I'm going to go for a run every morning at 6:30, and I don't, I pull the blanket over my head instead, I'm letting myself down. I can never be happy if I'm letting myself down on a regular basis. I will never find happiness if I'm doing that all the time. It's more than just checking things off a to-do list. It's actually keeping your commitments, keeping your agreements. It's an incredibly powerful thing. So stop making agreements with other people and yourself. That's really important. Don't forget about yourself. Stop making agreements that you can't keep. Always make sure that when you make an agreement, it is something that you can keep. And if you find yourself unable to keep it, don't just forget about it, renegotiate it. Because the renegotiation keeps the energy there, which means that it keeps you up, energetically up about it. If you just decide not to do it, you'll go energetically down about it. And you don't want to lower your energy at all, ever, about anything. You want to keep your energy level up as high as possible. So how do we do that? We do that by moving. We always get out of bed, even if we don't feel like it. We always move our body as much as possible. And if we're entrenched in a problem of some kind, that's the best time. I have found since I've had a dog, which is only just over a year, that sometimes if I'm stuck with something and I just go out for a walk with her and I take myself out of that environment, I move my body, that I actually come back in feeling better, and I've often got a solution to whatever it was that was challenging me. Right? So solutions come more when you're moving your body. Get a list of things that need to be done and go through the list. Check the items off. That will make you feel good. You will have a sense of accomplishment at the end of the day because you got something done. And you will be contributing in some way to somebody, right? If you clean up your house, you contribute to yourself, to your environment, because your photos don't like being covered in dust any more than mine do. Your patio doesn't like being covered in leaves. Even if you live alone, it's still worth doing. And if you live with someone else, you've contributed towards them because you've cleared some space and brought some good energy in. And then you will feel happier because you will be more in control of your environment and you will have the tools. At least now you know what will make you feel better, right? Having listened to me prattle away for a few minutes, you now know for sure that if you're down in the dumps and you put some music on and you dance, you're going to feel better. If you move your body in some way, you'll feel better. If you get some of the things that are on your to-do list off your to-do list, by doing them, you will feel better. If you don't have a to-do list, write one. If you contribute in some way to somebody, make them a cup of tea. Phone someone up you haven't spoken to for a long time. Send a message on Facebook to somebody whose birthday it is today. If you've contributed in some way to another person or even another being, you've done something that's worthwhile, and that will make you feel better. And if you just do a tiny thing today, and then a better one tomorrow, and then a bigger one the day after, your ability to deal with stuff will increase and improve, and your happiness level will go up. Trust me, it will be that way. I promise. Okay, any questions? Email me, Andrea at myhomebiz.tips. Andrea at myhomebiz.tips. Any feedback, any contributions of any kind, greatly received. Even if they seem negative, if there's something you want me to do differently that would make you happier, let me know. Also, if you know anyone, or including yourself, who would be a good candidate to be interviewed on our show, let me know and I'll reach out to them. Okay, that's it for today. Now you know how to be happy. I'll see you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.